The following presentation was recorded live in Cincinnati, Ohio for CALLERLAB's 25th Annual Convention. This is Tape 7, Improving Your Vocal Range, Part 2.
Talking them at their word, and you're here for singing lessons. Okay, so we've got some special stuff that we want to do, having to do with range, but in order for that to happen, there's some other things that your body needs to be ready to do. Let's do a little bit of warming up. First of all, can you kind of stretch up to the ceiling here? Get your body awake. It's just been out of bed a short time. Probably wasn't in bed all that much time to begin with. Now just pretend you had a hula hoop. Let's get yourselves going here. Boy, I can tell that I haven't done yet this morning. And let it extend. You got one running around your neck at the same time you got another one going up around your hips. See? All right, so that you're a little bit more awake, you're a little more alert. Say what?
It's only audio tape, not video.
No, actually, I've got this little video camera here. I'm holding on to it, and I'll be contacting you each individually a little bit later on to augment my fee. Let's make sure that you're still breathing, okay? You look like you are, but don't just pop back in the corner. We're making ourselves. Let's spread out and make ourselves a circle around the room, one line deep, so nobody has a chance to hide. Okay, so just slip on back into the perimeter there, if you will. Would all of you just kind of exhale? When you inhale through your nostrils. Now exhale through your mouth. Go brush your teeth. No, everything's fine. In through your nostrils. And exhale through your mouth. Okay, so you got a little batch of fresh oxygen in there. When you inhale through your nose, did you notice how your breathing went? You felt an expansion right down here at the bottom of your rib cage. That activity that's going on there is your diaphragm. Your diaphragm works to bring air into your body. That's the primary job that it has. In singing, it has a second job, which we'll get to in a second. But right now, let's just make sure that when you breathe, you're breathing deep inside your body and not shallow with your chest. So, again, through your nostrils. And you feel that expand deep. Think of your lungs like being a water balloon. When you fill up you can exhale if you want to. If you think about when you fill up a water balloon. Of course, we haven't done that for a long time, but you never forget once you've done it once. When the water goes into the balloon, it doesn't fill up at the top. It runs right to the bottom, fills up at the bottom, and then fills up to the top. And that's the way that you should be doing when you fill your lungs with air. If you can get your body to breathe properly, it'll sing a whole lot better. There's an old Italian axiom that says the person that knows how to breathe knows how to sing. Of course, they have a whole bunch of other axioms that they say too, which make it just a little bit more complicated. But breathing's a big deal. It's really important. Now, the next thing that I want you to do is to play a little game called Fat Skinny. I want you to make your tummy as skinny as it can go. Suck your tummy in. That's as far as it goes. Then let it go. Now let it fat. And skinny. And fat. And skinny. I'm going to get you in a rhythm. So here's in, out, in, out, in, out. Don't relate it to breathing yet. Just flex your stomach. And in, out, in, out, in. Now the next time you go in, exhale. Raise your hand if that feels backwards to you. Okay, I thought it might be a good idea to start with that. Your natural breathing, the way that you breathed when you were a newborn baby, is what I just showed you. When people breathe healthily, naturally, they breathe by tucking their stomach in when they exhale and letting their stomach relax when they inhale. You go back to the neonatal ward and watch babies when they're first born. Watch how they breathe. But for a large number of folks, for some reason, by the time they get to the point where they're standing up, have turned into adults, they've got that whole process backwards. I knew that was going on because even though my back was turned, I could hear people breathing in at the wrong period of time. So let's do that again. And if you want to try to reverse this, it's not very hard. You just do this exercise several times in the early part of the morning when you first get up, and then you do it either just before you start calling your dance, or while you're driving to the dance, or some predictable time where you can just build it into your schedule without having to make a big deal about it. And who cares? I mean, you have to breathe. You might as well do it the right way. So please, flex in and out. In and out. In and out. And the next time it goes in, blow out. Exhale when your tummy goes in. When your tummy goes fat, you inhale. Now, the reason I want you to do that is because it's going to help you manage your breath a little bit better. Next little activity along the way. Inhale through your nose, and you'll feel yourself expand just like you did when you were doing that fat skinny game. Now chuckle for me a little bit like this. This is a Simon Legree chuckle. And you put your hands right here on your ribs, right at the bottom of your ribs, and do that chuckle again. Raise your hands if at the moment you do the little chuckle, there's a little expansion out to the sides. Raise your hands if you feel that. Now that's all that support's supposed to feel like. It doesn't have to be any bigger deal than that. Just you just connect with the muscles that are down there. And that little sneaky chuckle is one of the fastest ways I've ever found to be able to communicate the idea of what support is supposed to feel like. It doesn't have to be harder than that. It shouldn't be simpler than that. It's just that. So, would you folks join with me? I'm going to come over here to the keyboard a little bit, and we're going to do a little bit of vocal warm-ups. We're going to start right down at the bottom of the range. Well, not quite that bottom. Let's see, power. Okay. Oh, there we are. All right, now, what I need you to do is starting down there, I want you to just chuckle with me on pitch, like this. Got this nice little interesting sound. So here's the drill. It's just that little chuckle. Let's do it one more time together. Go. How many of you like the bottom part of that scale more than the top part? I wondered if that might be so. But then that's part of what we're really getting at this morning. I just noticed as you went up to the top part of that was not as easy as the bottom part was. And there's a reason for that, and I'll explain it a little bit later. Next thing I want you to do is to open your mouths. Instead of that little chuckle, I want you to make some sound with a open mouth on the letter ah, or a, ah, 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 ah. Time out. I might as well tell you that even though your mouth's open, your connection down here to your ribs is supposed to be the same. So let's go again. Ah, 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 ah. Okay, that's a start. Next thing that I'd like to have you do is to feel the difference between the way that your throat, there are several ways your throat can respond to the breath pulses that are coming from down inside your body. One of them is with a hard, it's called a heart attack. Not a heart attack, but a hard attack. And it sounds something like this. Like that. Would you all try that? Just those three notes. And that's not the way you're supposed to do it. But now you've had one good example, and here's the opposite. example of how you ought not to be doing it. Ha, 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 ha. You can hear the difference in the quality of the sound right off the bat, can't you? Would you try that, please? Ha, 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 ha. Okay, so you got the feel there. Neither one of those are the right solution. One's way off to the extreme of being tight in the throat, and the other one is being on the opposite end of being very loose in the throat. Neither one of them will get you where you want to be. Instead, there's a middle ground, and it sounds like this. You imagine that you're going to say an H, it's an imaginary or a silent H in front of that ah, so that it sounds like this. Ha, 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 as compared to ah, 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 or ha, 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 ha. Ready? The silent H. Ha, 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 ha. Raise your hand if you had a little hard time holding on to that balance as you went up the scale. Which way did it go? Hard or soft? If this is hard, and this is soft, ha, 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 which one was your problem? Got harder as you went up to the top. Over here? Oh, had nothing to do with the attack. It just wasn't there at all. Yeah. Okay, there were a couple other hands that went up. Hard, harder, softer. Okay, that couldn't be a gender thing, could it? I don't think so. Anyway, you want to try to find that middle ground, however you do it. Look for the middle ground to keep your throat healthy. That makes a nice balance between the energy coming from your midsection and the amount of response to the way it is in your throat. Everybody imagine that you're going to lift a heavy object. You're going to lift something that's really heavy. Imagine that. You feel what that feels like? Your throat closes tight, your stomach tightens, and you get some air pressure, some compression in your lungs that backs up underneath your vocal folds. That's not what it's supposed to feel like when you sing. You want to try to avoid that part of the whole package, that part of the closing down. The anthropologists say that human beings, having descended from animals, which I don't believe, still have this latent fight or flight tendency. And they describe that as being just what we did. When you get nervous or you get frightened or you get threatened, the body will have a tendency to stiffen up in the breath, support, close up the throat, and put compression of the air in the lungs so as to make the lungs more stiff and rigid and the torso stronger so that you can lift heavy objects or you can fight or you can run or you can get away. When you're learning how to sing, what you want to be able to do is to engage the muscles down in your abdomen vigorously, but not engage the muscles in your throat vigorously. You want them to remain more passive. Is there a couple of pieces of paper? Some of you that have your folders here with you, ma'am. I wonder if you could let me... All I need is just a couple of sheets of paper out of there. Could you just pull me out a couple of sheets? Thank you, ma'am. Okay, now what's going to happen here is that I'm going to show you what your vocal cords ought to be doing. This is kind of a coordinated breathing process, and as air comes through your vocal folds, most of us think we have to do something muscular to kind of make our vocal cords work. But in actual fact, the vocal folds are driven more by air than they are by muscle. You imagine that these two pieces of paper are your vocal folds, and if you were going to have them sitting in your throat, we normally would think that you have to squeeze them closed in order to make the sounds work. But in actual fact, what happens is if you do it well, you put your vocal cords kind of close together. How do you do that? By trial and error. You've been doing it for all the days of your life, ever since you were born and making sound, and so everybody sort of knows how to do this already. But you'd imagine that if I blew a stream of air through these two pieces of paper or these two vocal folds, that the stream of air would force the two sheets apart. but the actual opposite occurs. Watch. Well, let me turn them long ways here. Some physicist I am. You can see that they actually get drawn together. There's a little law of nature that says that whenever air molecules are in motion, they create low pressure or suction. And if you can build up enough of that suction, you can actually get your vocal folds to snap closed passively. In other words, you don't have to make anything happen. You just put your voice, the two vocal cords together closely, set a good stream of air through there, and all of a sudden the vocal cords will snap to close and you get a good, clean, clear sound. Watch what happens. I'm going to start out with a breathy sound, which means that my vocal folds aren't all the way closed. And then I'm going to just increase the airstream until I get enough of that suction going so that the vocal folds will close all the way. Watch. You hear? It was started out really breathy. I didn't change what was going on in my throat at all. I just increased the quantity of air moving through my throat. Now, why is that important? Anybody got any feeling about why that might be an important thing? Not a clue. Okay, the reason that that's important is because you don't have to work so hard. One of you folks that are out calling, if you have a common complaint, is that your voice gets tired as the night wears on. Sometimes it gets tired and it shows itself up that you can't sing high notes anymore. Sometimes it shows up that after singing high notes all night, you can't find the low notes anymore. And other times it's just a general fatigue. Sometimes, as the night goes on, you feel like there's some mucus or phlegm that comes on your vocal cords, and you just can't get rid of it. It gets really thick, and your voice gets raspy. All of those tendencies grow out of the fact that instead of using a nice airstream-produced, balanced sound, you have a tendency to want to push your voice, press your voice closed, like I showed you a moment ago. If you go, and you hold on to that sensation, you'll feel tightness in your throat. On the other hand, if you go, there's no sensation in my throat. It's just free and easy as if I weren't making a sound. And that kind of production will last a whole lot longer than the pressing kind. So I encourage you all to find that middle ground so that you can let the air make your voice happen instead of making the muscles in your throat do it so much. Are there any questions about that? Good. Actually, this is just leading up to where we want to go next, because that kind of making sound, the easiness in your throat, will make it easier for you to go high in your range and low in your range much more readily than if you're pressing your throat. Okay, raise your hands if you're trying to figure out how to get more notes in your voice, if you're trying to get a wider range. If that's what you're doing here, you're in the right place. Now, I asked this question before most of you got here. How many of you want to pick up more notes on the top of your voice? Are there any of you that want to pick up notes on the bottom of your voice? 1, 2, couple of 3 or 4. The majority want to go up, so that's the direction we'll start, and then we'll move the other direction before we're finished this morning. The first thing you got to do is to find out if you got access to the several ranges of your voice. So, would you put your hands on your chest just like this? And would you say, howdy? Howdy. And put it down deep so that it rumbles in your chest. Go again. Howdy. No, this is Western Texan howdy. That's it. You don't have to press on it. You just get down in that range. There are some muscles embedded right inside your vocal folds that control that sound that you're making. When they're flexing, your voice gets heavy and low. For some of you who have a hard time getting those low notes, you're not usually really strong with those muscles, and they just need to be strengthened. But whenever you do that, your vocal folds get thick. And when they get thick, something about the way the sound, the way the vibrations are made, triggers vibration in your chest. So we call that, its nickname is the chest voice, because you can feel it vibrating in your chest. That's a really good thing to get. Not the only thing you get, but that's got to be part of your whole package. So would you do that again, please? Howdy. That's great. Now, watch what happens when I, let's see. Let me say that again, and you tell me if when I make the sound, you can feel it vibrate in your chest. Howdy. Can you feel that? Is there any response to that? If you don't, if some of you are shaking your head, no. You need to get in touch with your own self. When I hear somebody that's speaking in their chest voice, maybe it's because I spend time doing it on a regular basis, I can already intuitively tell where their voice is being made by how it vibrates inside my own body. That you can develop that same ability. Now, listen to what happens to me when, and you'll notice the vibrations are primarily down in my chest, maybe a little into my throat, but mostly down in my chest. Watch what happens when I raise my pitch. Howdy. Now, it's still me, but it's moved somewhere else. The center of vibration moved somewhere else. This gentleman was saying it starts to move up higher, into the bones of my face. Howdy. That's my middle voice. Howdy. Howdy. You hear the difference? Still me, but it's just a little gear shift that goes on inside my throat. It goes on inside your throat just as easily. The third range is up a little higher than that. It's right up in here. Howdy. Can you hear that? That's no longer connected down into my chest in the same way, because the muscles in my throat have actually shifted their relationship with each other in a kind of an automatic transmission, kind of an adjustment. And then, and if you could get access to those three ranges, you could sing pretty much anything in the square dance calling whole package. You go and buy any record pretty much that you wanted to and do anything you wanted, because those three things will take you through nearly 2 octaves worth of range. There's more on top. It's pretty early in the morning. I haven't found my hysterical voice yet. But that's the really high voice. That's way up there, and it's a little early to do that. But I'd like to have you each experiment to see if you can find those three ranges. First, say in your low voice, howdy. And the next one is, howdy. You all feel it? Could you hear it as it went around the room? Still sounds like human voices. It's just a little bit more animated. It's the kind of voice that you naturally use when you get into an animated conversation. When you're having a good time with somebody, normally your voice goes like that. And when you're not feeling so good, or when you're trying to sound like you know what you're talking about, then you drop your voice down here. That ever happen? Okay. And then the other one is when you get really quite excited or you get upset. Or you're really, really enthusiastic about things. Then your voice modulates itself up into this upper range. Howdy! That's pretty good, and you gentlemen don't have to worry. You'll still shave tomorrow morning if you talk this way. Yes, you will. Well, you won't. But you could if you wanted to. Okay, one more time. Up there, howdy! Now, raise your hand if that doesn't feel too comfortable. If there's some strain in that, then you got a little problem. Because lots of folks will take howdy, this one, and they'll just kind of drive it on up there. I'd like to suggest to you, you think about your good old automatic transmission in your car. Most of the time, you don't pay a bit of attention to when your car changes gears. You just get in the car, you start it up, and it goes and right now you're about 45 miles an hour getting ready to get on the freeway. But if your car does this, I'd get off. I wouldn't get on the freeway because I'd only be down the road about 1.5 miles before I wouldn't be going anywhere. That's exactly right. And what you all are doing is you're in the transmission shop this morning. Well, that's what happens to you folks that try to get up into that upper range without shifting gears, without knowing how to access that gear. You take that second gear and you just drive it on up a bit. And it does the same thing in your throat that sound I just made does to your transmission when it doesn't change. it just gets heated up, it gets worn out, and it gets strained. And so you want to look for a way to make that adjustment. There is a set of muscles that are, and I told you, embedded inside your vocal folds that are responsible for making the heavy voice. Most of you fellas have spent all of your adult life using those muscles, and then there's another set of muscles that are also embedded inside your larynx but outside the vocal folds that when they flex, they stretch your vocal folds long. And as your vocal folds get stretched out longer, they get thinner, and when they get thinner, the pitch goes up higher. And most of you gentlemen don't have good coordination or strength in that set of muscles. They're not very long. The muscles are not even as long as the joint of my little finger here. But they're very important muscles, and they make your pitch go up. And if you're not strong at those muscles, you'll have trouble getting into high range. How can you develop those muscles? There are a couple of ways to do it. Let's discover them. The first thing I want you to do is to do a lip buzz. I'll show you how to do it first, and then I'd like to have you do it with me. It starts low. That's all it is. Now, I'm going to do it one more time, and I want you to listen to see how many gear shifts you can find. How many heard one? That'd be two different quality voices. How many of you heard two with three qualities of voice? Okay, here we go again. One shift? I vote for one. It's inside my voice. Actually, I told you about two different sets of muscles, and what you heard was a transition from one set to the other set. So that you get this high voice, or what used to be your child's voice, and then you have your adult voice. And that child's voice we normally call now falsetto, guys. This, and we don't want to do that because that makes us feel a little childish. So we stay away from that one. Wrong. We do have to use that part of our voice, and just do it in a different way than we did when we were a child. Incidentally, you ladies that are trying to find lower notes, generally, you've spoken in that upper voice, and those muscles are really strong, and it's the other muscles that are not as strong, and you have to figure out how to access them and get them to coordinate together. Would you all do a lip buzz for me, please, just like I showed you? Start at the bottom and glide to the top. Go. Okay, what I'm hearing is that some of you are doing that pretty successfully, and the other end are getting all tickled because you can't get that thing to work. It does tickle your lips. If you just go out and exercise your lips a little bit more, they wouldn't tickle quite so much. Yeah. Now, this time I want you to start at the top of your voice and glide to the bottom. Go. No, your mouth's open. If you were just going to play motorboat or a little car with your grandson, you'd go brum, 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 brum. And while you're doing that, you just let your lips keep buzzing, and you go up and down in your range. Raise your hand if this activity is hard to do. Significant number of folks find trouble with that. You folks are caught in a trap. You're caught in that something in your throat, mainly your vocal folds, are not staying relaxed and flexible, so that as you start going up through your range and you hit a spot where it's supposed to transition to another one of those voices, instead of allowing it to transition easily, your throat tightens up. And as it tightens up, the stream of air stops, or at least slows down, and there's not enough air to get your lips buzzing. And that's the real beauty of this little drill. Your lips will tell you whether or not your airstream's going. If the airstream isn't strong enough, your lips won't buzz, and so you'll get, and all of a sudden your lips won't buzz anymore. That's because you've cut the airstream off. It's a really good signal. And you say, well, I know I'm not trying to do that. It's not my fault, and the reality is that it is your fault. No, reality is that whether you realize it or not, you're cutting your airstream off. And when your airstream gets cut off, that little principle that I showed you with the pieces of the paper can't work anymore, and then you have to tighten up your throat to get anything to happen. So right at the very beginning foundation of this thing, a lip buzz, a lip trill, is an excellent way to get your throat to behave healthily. So with that in mind, try to keep your airstream constant and just let go of control. Let go of the kind of control that you gentlemen generally use on your vocal cords, on your kids, and on your wife. Right now we're only talking about your vocal cords. So one more time, would you? Start at the top and glide to the bottom. Good. Raise your hand if you have one transition in your voice. That means from high to low, low to high. Raise your hand if there's only one transition that you recognize. A couple of you are saying yes. Raise your hand if you have more than one transition. Raise your hand if you don't know. I was afraid of that. Okay. There should be just one major transition. And that's the way most of you are. And matter of fact, it's the way all human beings are. There's a high voice and a low voice. Interestingly enough, though, the high voice is a pretty wide range. If you go in your falsetto, fellas, you can go just about 2 octaves in falsetto. If you go into your modal voice or your adult voice, you have just about 2 octaves of range in that low voice. But they overlap each other by about an octave. And that's the magical spot in your voice. Even though it doesn't turn out to be magical right now, that's the solution to your problem. Because in that range where the 2 voices overlap, you can learn to mix them together. And when you learn to mix them together, then you can get access to the top of your voice. Generally, what you folks do that can't reach up to the high notes well is that you get stuck in that low speech voice, and it has a range that kind of cuts itself off just before the upper 2, 3, 4, 5 notes of some of the highest songs you have to sing. Some people don't even know it, but they just somewhere in the early part of their lives learned how to make that mixed voice. They either grew up in a home where they had a good parental model, or they did music in their schools, or they did some such thing that they don't even hardly remember, that allowed them to get access to that middle voice easily. And those folks just seem to have more talent than the rest. But in reality, what they've got is experiences that happened early on in their lives that helped them to learn how to modulate their voice. And some of you that are having trouble with your range didn't have that experience some along the way, and now is the time that you're trying to figure out how to do that. So, you start out with really basically 2 voices. The next level in your development is to develop that overlapping range. Now, I'd like to have you go back and say howdy again in those several ranges. Low voice, howdy. Middle voice, howdy. And the upper middle voice, howdy. And then howdy. And yeah, most of you guys, however, went over to howdy, which is not at all the kind of thing that a square dance caller wants to do. Not if you're going to keep control of the dance. You want to find a way to connect those sounds together. So I'm going to take you again, find the low one and the middle one. Would you do that with me? Low, howdy. Middle, howdy. Now slide between those like this. Ah, go. Yeah, it kind of slips and slides. It slides vibration-wise down into your chest, and then it slides, and it's almost just like you said. There's a transition. However, I'd like to have you gentlemen put your fingers right on your Adam's apple. Ladies, if you can find your Adam's apple, in that general range, then do this same activity. If you're doing it properly, your Adam's apple won't go up and down, but the pitches will change internally inside your throat. If your Adam's apple is going up and down, then you're using the wrong sets of muscles to try to change pitch by raising your whole larynx and lowering your whole larynx. The pitch changing actually occurs with the little muscles that are right inside your larynx. So here you go, gentlemen. Let's do that little from the middle voice down to the low voice, just gliding back and forth. Start in the middle voice there and slide down to the bottom. Oh. Raise your hands. Raise your hands if your larynx is popping up and down. A little bit is okay. But if it's going up and down about as much as the pitch is, then you've got something that you want to try to pay attention to. Generally, your larynx shouldn't go up and down as you change pitch. And if you can overcome that tendency by doing these little glides, you'll be much better off. Now find the upper middle part of your voice up in there, and let's glide from there to the lower. Is it jumping around pretty bad now? That's the range that it kind of gets kind of tough on folks, because most folks don't know how to integrate the high voice and the low voice. Now it's time for a volunteer. I need somebody to be a volunteer. Anybody want to jump forward? Because we're going to start finding. Okay, Molly, you want to be the volunteer? Now, Molly did this. Wait a minute, Molly. You did that yesterday, so I got to find somebody else. Okay. Come on. Well, let's find out if that's so. I'm going to go over here to the piano, and your name is Claude. I'm going to give Claude a little mini voice lesson here having to do with range. And as soon as Claude does it, everybody else is going to get to do it too. So watch carefully how this is done. Okay, Claude, are you a pretty straightforward guy, or are you a little slippery slidey?
I'm not sure I want to answer that.
Well, I need you to be...
What do you mean by that question?
He said, and the way that you use your voice, are you kind of an oily voiced guy, or are you kind of...
Everything I do, I have to be real careful. I don't get any songs that have anything high.
Well, we'll fix that one for sure. Okay. First thing, can you hit that note? Yeah, okay, he's with it. Now, we're going to look at how Claude changes from one note to the next note. I'm going to play a little pattern here, and then I want you to sing it into the microphone. Did you hear how Claude... You can sit down, folks, if you want to. Can you hear how Claude re-attacked each one of the notes? That's probably the way most of you do it. Now, what I'd like to have you do, Claude, is I want you to learn how to slur notes, or to slide notes, or actually to bend notes. So if I play that note, and this is the next note, I want you to bend this pitch until it sits on top of that note. Okay? I'll demonstrate it once, then I'll get you to try it. That didn't slide very well. Let's try it again. I'm waiting for him to start sliding. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get you to go there on your own. Those are the pitches you want.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. I thought you wanted me to wait till you slid and I followed. Okay.
But I can't slide on this cotton picker. You think about a little slide whistle. That's what I want to get.
Okay.
Hear it click a little bit? Let's hear. What I did was hit every little microtone in between those two half steps to be able to get it to slide smoothly. Hear it flip?
Yeah, I can't.
Bend it. Oh, yes, you can. Hit every little miniature tone in between. So it's a real sloppy slur. That's pretty sloppy.
Sorry about that. Tried to.
I don't want him to get serious. He'll get serious all of a sudden. Let's keep this kind of lighthearted.
Shut up.
No. It still bumps, doesn't it?
Bumps, yeah.
Take longer to get there.
Okay.
Kind of do it so that I can't tell where that pitch ends off and this one begins.
Okay.
That's a little better. That's pretty good. Keep going. I got to get past this first couple of half steps and then we'll get on a roll.
How much time do we have?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Was that better?
And do the next one.
Which way am I going? Up or down? Up. Okay.
That one bumped.
Yeah. Doesn't sound too good.
I'm not passing any judgment right now. I'm just trying to get you to go slippy slidey. It's hard for folks that feel a little self-conscious, as Claude does, to just let be what is. Don't let it bump. Slur it.
Good. Get up on my tippy toes.
That's right. Bump.
Yeah.
That one didn't. Good for you. That one bumped.
I can't hit that. It
Yeah, okay.
kind of.
That's what he thinks. He can't hit that. Now, we're kind of getting right to the heart and soul of what the challenge is here. Well, I'm going to go on a little bit more and then explain it. That's right. No, what's happening to Claude is that Claude is so accustomed to what his voice feels like in the low speech mode that as it starts to transition into that middle voice, he thinks that he's doing it wrong. He's not. He's actually doing it right. But because it's so unfamiliar, it makes him nervous. He's not anywhere near his voice cracking, but it's transitioning away from that deep rumbly quality into that intermediate quality, and that scares him because it's unfamiliar to him. You're absolutely not doing it wrong. You're doing it right, but it's a place you've not used to going. Okay, so now instead of half steps, we're going to go whole steps. That's this. That's the direction we're going. No bump.
Bumped a little. Yeah.
That's right. Now, did you hear what he just did? That was a clear move up into the middle of his voice. That's a new experience for him. He's kind of game. He's willing to go along because I'm giving him permission to do it. But it's a healthy way for him to go. It's very quiet. You can hear that he's just a little bit self-conscious, and his tone is a little on the breathy side. But it's in the middle of his voice now, and that's going to open the door for the next notes beyond that. Now we're going to go a little quicker. Here's the drill now. You're just going to slide back between those notes.
I had trouble with that.
You do. It's hard, isn't it? So try it again. You can go slower if you want to. Now he's actually changing pitch in a fundamentally different way than he was doing it before.
I feel like an idiot.
Idiot is good. That's right. That feels really weird, doesn't it? Feels like it's
hitting the notes and I'm not. It feels like I'm just kind of
sliding on them.
Yeah.
You are. That's the truth. And actually, it doesn't sound badly, does it? It doesn't sound like it's sloppy, but it feels sloppy because he's not accustomed to it. Here we go again.
Wait a minute, you're going to a couple of sharps there.
You weren't supposed to be watching. But how about if you sing just a little louder? It's a little on the kind of shy side. Does this he's never been qualified as being a shy guy. No, okay, so get over it. Let's make this sound kick out here. That's right. Now you're using a fair amount of breath, aren't you? Except that you're really not. You remember I said when we very first got here that people that have a breathy voice generally have a breathy voice because they don't have enough breath going to trigger that closure that makes a good clear sound. So would you increase your breath flow by maybe 30%, a significant amount? Don't change anything else.
Am I still supposed to be sliding now?
Yeah, now you got two tasks to do. You noticed, until he kind of went up higher than what I was playing, he wasn't running out of breath. His breath still was going to carry him through that whole length, and that's a great mystery. You use more breath, and you don't run out of breath. When you use less breath, you run out of breath. You need to use more, and you'll have more. Good. This is going to be the last one that I'm going to do with Claude. Then we're going to get you all up to do this. Okay, go. That's about 5 notes higher than Claude thought that he could sing this morning. Because when we were down here and he was in his modal voice or in his speech voice, right there he started to get nervous. And at this note he said, I can't make that note anymore. Well, we're already up there, and you can hear that it still sounds like Claude. It sounds like a shy Claude, but it still sounds like Claude. Now, folks, that same practice is what all of you need to figure out how to do. Thank you for being guinea pig, Claude. Come on, everybody, up on your feet. Now, I gotta kind of stand close here to the... Somebody play the piano in this room? Can somebody play a simple scale? If not, then you want to come and do it? Well, never mind. I know what I'm doing. So I can't get around to you all. So... what I want you to do is to learn how to slide. See what?
We can walk around to you.
Well, hey, that's an idea. Now, I know this scale in my head. The first thing I want you to do is this. Oh, you do it. Oh, you all are getting the idea that you can slur the notes together. By doing that, you take the muscles that control the high part of your voice and mix them together with the muscles that are in your low part of your voice. The high part, the muscles that control the high part, are known as the muscles of pitch, meaning that when they flex, they stretch your vocal folds long, and they thin them out, and the pitch goes up. And that's one of those combinations that's so essential for you. And so if I do this, that's an isometric activity between the heavy voice muscles and the light voice muscles. If I do this, that's just heavy voice muscles being driven up a notch on the scale by increasing my breath pressure. And that's not the solution you want to go to. So slur one more time. Raise your hand if you're feeling a little uncomfortable right at this point. This is the juncture spot between the low voice and the mixture into the middle voice. Question? Yeah, the first thing that I do, you may not have been here when we first did this activity. Put your hands on your rib cage at the bottom and chuckle to yourself. Feel that little activity that's going on there? That's what it means. When you say give more breath, Give more of that kind of activity. That may be overly simple for you to start off, but just give that a try and see if that answers the question. We're down here at the bottom again, slurring. Okay, gentlemen, next, this one and the next one is going to lead you to that transition point. Now, if you're doing that properly, you're now in your middle voice. And it no longer vibrates deeply in your chest, but starts to tickle the bones of your face a little bit. Here we are right there again. Raise your hands if that's hard to do. Some of you find that really hard to do. Okay, you don't stand in the back. You come on forward then. I need to get where you're at. Gentlemen, right here, and this fellow, those of you that raised your hands, get up here where I can hear what's going on. Right here in the circle. It was really here. Okay, I'm going to stand right between y'all. Here we go. And here's the sound. Oh, that's you too. Okay, we're all going to do this together.
Oh, okay.
Go. Oh. One more time. Listen to me do it once. Oh. Now you do it. Oh. Can you hear yours click just a little bit in there? Don't let it click. Slur it. Slide it. You got yours pretty well. Go. Oh. That's right. Now here's the next note. I'll sing it, then you do it afterwards. Oh, go. Oh. Clicks a little bit again. Here we go again. Oh. Slurred pretty good on the way down, bumped on the way up. Try it one more time. Oh. Got it. All right, now that's fundamentally different than what you did before, and if you can buy into that, you'll get access to the next range up. Here's the next set of notes. Oh. Oh. That's right. Oh. Oh. Let's try it one more time. I'll do it and then you listen. Oh. Oh. Got it. Oh.
My short contact pipe.
That's actually pretty good. I was going to make a joke out that, but I can't figure of a polite way to do that. Why we go? Oh. Oh. That's right. Now, does that feel weird to you?
Yeah, it does.
Does that feel weird to you? No, you're feeling okay? Yours feels weird. You're in a different kind of voice arrangement than what you're used to.
Right.
God bless you. That's right where you're supposed to be.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Okay. Now, let's string these things together, folks. Would you sing, ah, slurring, ah, ah, you do it, ah, listen, ah, listen, please, ah, Now, most of you fellows are up in the middle part of your voice. Raise your hands if this is a new and novel sensation to you. Does this feel unusual to you? Comment. Yeah.
Oh, you want on it? Okay, I've always been trying to sing by using the muscles in my throat. Now you're telling me not to use those. Is that correct? Just think them.
Yeah, it's the good old Harold Hillfist system from the Music Man, the Think system, you know. No, that's right. If your mind can conceive it, your body can do it. If your mind can't conceive this, then your body can't execute it. But if you do this all the time in your natural speech, when you're just trying to be, you're trying to act more than what you are, you'll talk in your low voice. And when you're excited and natural, you'll talk in your middle voice. And everybody knows how to do that until they start singing. And when they start singing, then they have to sing down here like this. And that makes it artificial. It isn't your best self. But that middle voice is where everybody gets their best energy from. Finding access to that in your singing is really important. Now do this with me. Go. That's coming along. How many of you feel like you're starting to sing in your nose a little bit? That's often a characteristic that people describe when they move into the middle part of their voice, is that it becomes more nasal. Truth of the matter is, it isn't necessarily more nasal. It's just got more buzzing sensations up in the bones of your face near your nose, so you think of it as being more nasal. Truth is, some of you actually are more nasal, not to be, but you don't have to be. So here we go again, right on this pitch. I'll sing it once. Go. That's right. That's right. It's good. That's right. That's right. That's good. Okay. That's the beginning of how you make that transition from one range to the next. You don't have to have a piano, and you don't have to have specific pitches to do that with. You can glide from the bottom of your voice to the middle of your voice just as readily. Would you do that, please? Once again, Shucks. Here we go.
Okay.
We'll all sing together, right? Go. There's nothing like the prospect of imminent public disgrace to cause somebody to get it right. That's good. She was sort of zoned over here, trying to get fussed around. All of a sudden, the mic goes in her face, and she gets it right. That's right. Here we go again. You guys just keep singing along here. Ready? Go. You kind of migrate up into my face a little bit. Do the same in your own, okay? There you go. Okay? Hey. Go. Now do that in the microphone once, would you? See, that's easy. There's a fellow that's got access to that. You've had that for a long time. That's not hard. I gotta tell you, Buster. I gotta tell you, that's not air.
I
like you. Some folks just naturally have that experience. I told you about people who just, whether it's because of the experiences that they had growing up as children with good models of using their voices in that way, or it's because of musical experiences that they've had before they even really knew they had musical experience, that some people have the ability to make this kind of speech inflection really easy, and those folks seem more disposed to turn out to be singers than people that don't have that experience. So there are some advantages that you can't go back and recreate, but you can still learn and compensate for it right now. Yes?
I contribute mine to the fact that I stutter. And I pitch my voice different to keep stuttering.
That's an interesting concept. He has a motivation that drives him to that, born not out of pitch recognition, but just by pitching it different to avoid that tendency to stuttering. Yeah, that's really excellent. Okay, folks, you've got some access to some songs, some pitches. Now let's just sing some songs. Somebody want to name a song that everybody's likely to know? She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain. Now, time out. Did you see what you just did? Did you see what you just did? You moved right into the middle of your voice. Down here, she'll be coming round the mountain. That's the chesting range. She'll be coming round the mountains when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain, she'll be coming round the mountain, you'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. What you did was to go through about a full octave of range. And in order to do that, you had to make one very natural transition in your voice. And you all did it, as far as I could tell. Now let's sing, she'll be coming, how do the verses go on this? Oh, yeah. She'll be riding 6 white horses when she comes. She'll be riding 6 white horses when she comes. She'll be riding 6 white horses. She'll be riding 6 white horses. She'll be riding 6 white horses when she comes. Oh, we'll all go out to meet her when she comes. Oh, we'll all go out to meet her when she comes. Oh, we'll all go out to meet her. Oh, we'll all go out to meet her. Oh, we'll all go out to meet her when she comes. And we'll hear the old red rooster when she comes. Oh, we'll hear the old red rooster when she comes. Oh, we'll kill the old red rooster. We'll kill the old red rooster. We'll kill the old red rooster when she comes. How many of you are afraid that I'm going to modulate up one more time? Yeah. Now, you see what I'm doing is that I'm taking you at a place where it's easy for you to go and just kind of ratcheting it up a little bit. And nobody is dying under the pressure of it. But by that modulation that I just did, verse by verse by verse, you moved into a range that was somewhat uncomfortable to you. Talk to me about it. Talk to me about what it felt like to sing that last verse. Anybody give me some response? Hand here in the corner. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, breathless. Okay, I'm not going to walk all the way across the room for that one. Yeah. When you say breathless, does that mean that you have no breath? That you felt yourself short of breath? Yeah. The reality is that he wasn't without a breath. He just was trying to call upon a past strategy that wouldn't work for him. When you're actually making pitch change the way it's supposed to be made in your throat, it takes no more breath to sing the upper notes than it does to sing the bottom notes. However, most people not understanding that principle will get themselves stuck in their low voice. When they come to that first transition, they'll tighten up and start pushing as an effort to drive that pitch upwards. And you actually can do that way. If you were to look at your vocal folds from a side angle, and you were putting greater subglottic pressure under the vocal folds, your vocal folds, instead of being straight across like this, would start to bow a little bit. And that bowing is the things that helps change the pitch. When your vocal cords get longer, they raise pitch. So if they're bowed, they'll get a slightly higher pitch, and then they'll get slightly more bowed, and you just add more and more pressure. But there comes a point at which they don't bow anymore. They're stretched out as far as they go, and then you don't have access to any higher notes. That's not the most efficient strategy to do. Instead of doing that, you keep your breath pressure the same, and when it comes time for that transition to take place, then there's that other set of muscles, your light voice muscles, which will start to stretch your vocal folds this way, long. And as they get stretched long, the pitch will go up without any bowing underneath it. So, put your hands on your tummies, and when we sing this song again, and you start to go toward the high notes, don't allow that part of your stomach to change. Keep it the same as it was in the low range, and all of a sudden your body's going to have to discover some other strategy for changing pitch. Here we go. Oh, Will. Oh, yeah. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. Oh, we'll all go out to meet her when she comes. Oh, we'll all go out to meet her when she comes. Oh, we'll all go out to meet her. Oh, we'll all go out to meet her. Oh, we'll all go out to meet her when she comes. We will kill the old red rooster when she comes. We will kill the old red rooster when she comes. We will kill the old red rooster. We will kill the old red rooster. We will kill the old red rooster when she comes. How'd it go? Were you able to do that? And as you did so, as you kept your breath the same, did you find your body's having to find a new way to get after those notes, or did it stay about the same? Comment here.
Back of my throat tightening. Back right above here, I felt that tightening.
Yes, there are some muscles that go back here behind your ear, right here, and they come down and they attach to the base of to the hyoid bone that's right in there. And some people use those muscles as a means of changing pitch. Also not the most efficient strategy, and what you just revealed to yourself is that you have a way of changing pitch that is different than what's the most efficient. So in this process, those sliding exercises would be very useful to you to try to figure out the right way. Comment here.
Just a question. For years, if you sing in church, there's certain songs that when you sing in certain tones, you're just like almost forced to yawn. Is that the same type of thing, the muscles?
They're not the same muscles. There's some other muscles that are closely related to that. And we're actually going to be talking about how to make that happen, that sort of yawning sensation that opens up the back of your throat. That's going to be the part of the discussion for the next session, how to change the quality of your voice, not just the range. But they are kind of related to each other. Time out for any questions or comments that anybody wants to make at this point.
It's hollow up there.
I get a vibration in.
You're reaching behind your ears.
I get a vibration when I get.
When you sing this way?
Yes.
That's exactly right. Those vibrations are known to singers all over the world, and they're actually used by singers to gauge where they are in their voice. You all felt that when you were singing in your low voice that it rumbled in your chest. And when you moved into your middle voice, it didn't rumble so intensely in your chest, but it vibrated in the bones of your face. It's still up for debate what's causing those vibrations. In some cases, people think that it's the sound coming out your throat hitting against the hard palate in your mouth, which sets the bones in your face in vibration. There's another theory that says that your spinal column, which is right, it's just separated from your larynx by a very small flap of skin, that the vibrations coming out of your throat set your spinal column to tingling, vibrating, kind of like a xylophone would tingle, hollow bones and so forth. And those bones come up and they attach right underneath your skull, right back where you're saying those vibrations were, behind your ears, so in the middle of your head. And that some people say that vibration is born out of bone transfer from the spinal column up through the skull. Nobody knows for sure. All we know is that people who sing describe sensations in the bones of their face. And the very best singing that's described has a lot of bone vibration in the mask. That's the bones that would normally allow you to wear the mask that you wear for Halloween. So right in this region, right on the cheekbones and the bones above your eyes, is the place where most singers describe most of the sensations that they feel. So as you climb up in your range toward your head voice more, the thing that you'll feel is more vibrations in your head. And the more you stay in your chest voice, the more you'll feel vibrations in your chest. Most of you gentlemen only are familiar with the vibrations in your chest. And just like Claude, when he started moving to where those vibrations left his chest and started migrating up into his face, he was very uneasy with that because it was a new sensation and he wasn't sure that he was doing it right. But it actually turned out that it was right, and it gave him access to other pitches because he was using the muscles that allowed him to gain access to those pitches. There's really no mystery associated with this. It's just taking the frontier of where your limits are and bending yourself into new places. Now let's go to how are we doing on time? What time are we supposed to finish here? 10:15? Well, we're about to that moment here. And we've done almost everything that we set out to do, except I think it'd be kind of fun for those of you who don't have access to low notes to step forward. Would you do that? Those of you that raised your hand saying, I want to get more low notes. You folks have the opposite dilemma. So let's come on forward here. And are you the only one?
Surely
Hot
not.
dog, come on. We're going to come over here to the piano, and we're going to do the opposite kind of drill that we did for the other folks when Claude was up here. This is the range that you feel most comfortable with. Can you sing that? Can you go, oh? Did you hear it flip instead of slur? That's better, but it still flips a little bit, doesn't it? Really slur, like as if you were going to hit every sort of step in between. That broke over, didn't it?
Yeah.
Now do this. Oh. That's somewhat better, but it's still a little fast, isn't it? Go real slowly. Oh. Again, really slur. Right now, she's starting to move to where her chest voice is supposed to kick in, and your name is Marianne. Marianne doesn't normally use that chesting voice, and so she's feeling the same kind of anxiety that Claude felt, but in reverse. She's getting some sensations that she's not used to. One of the nice things about Marianne is that she sings with a sweet voice. She needs to be a little bit more aggressive because the lower chest voice muscles not only control the vibrations in your chest, they're the same muscles that you use when you want to sing loud. Their nickname is the muscles of intensity, whereas the other muscles, the light voice muscles, are called the muscles of pitch because they raise pitch. The lower voice muscles create the loudness in your sound. So one of the ways you can access that is to sing louder. Okay? Now you could feel that slip and it started vibrating in your chest, didn't it? Oh, now you're shy again. Keep it loud. Make it loud. She's right on that transition point. Make it loud. Now you hear that? Now she's in her chest voice. You can hear it. It's starting to vibrate down in her chest. Right. I was just about to do that, and I thought that was not a good idea. Keep it loud. Can you hear fundamentally the quality has changed? And it's also, that quality of voice is going to be more viable in a square dance moment than the other voice will. You're still kind of bumping, so keep it loud. Now she's sitting right down toward the bottom of her voice, but that's already 8 notes lower than where she thought she couldn't go. And the only reason that she was able to do that is because she allowed herself the permission to access the voice that was the lower voice. And ladies, many of you ladies have that same tendency to be in your high voice and not allow yourself to go in the low voice, because the standard, from the 18th century, the standard belief was a woman who was a virgin didn't have a low voice. And you ladies just continue to hang on to that belief somewhere along the way. Makes a pretty good story anyway, doesn't it? Okay, now we're going to go the opposite direction. We've passed our time, so if you feel like you need to excuse yourselves, you're welcome to, but we're going to be here another 2 or 3 minutes. We're going the opposite direction. We're going to start loud. But smooth. Keep it strong. You're making that transition. Bumpy, slur. You can do even better than that, I bet. You can feel that shifting. Mm-hmm. That's where you want to make the change. Bend that. Now keep going. Now she's starting to emerge out of her chest voice into that mixed voice, which normally she wouldn't do. Normally what she does is just carries her light voice all the way down until it won't work anymore. Is this somewhat different than what you normally do?
Yes, but when I really changed so I can sing in this lower voice, but then I can't hit the high notes.
You can't get the high notes. Yeah. Now watch. That's
either go high or low. I have 2 voices I use.
Yeah, but you're now getting a third voice. This is a little weird, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go one more time. No bumpies, no grinding, just plain old slurring. Now she's definitely in a place that she's not used to being, right? That's that mixed voice that has a little mixture of chest in it with a lot of head voice in it and not pure head voice. And now all of a sudden, I think that's a strong note. I think those are clear, strong things. And she's just gone through almost 2 octaves of range, which is more than you'd ever be called on to use. However, to be able to, and she's got to get another octave on top of that, which would allow her to go into her soprano sort of choir voice. But the voice that you're going to use for calling most effectively is that hybrid mixture. You feel that? That's a kind of a weird thing, isn't it? Would you do this for me? You felt your flip? Don't do it. Keep it strong. That's a fundamentally different voice than what she was using a moment ago. One more time. Now she's figuring out, how do I get out of this middle voice? That was actually pretty good. Try it again. Don't back off. Now you're in the light voice.
That's.
She's still in that mixing voice, but this now is starting to feel pretty close to normal, isn't it? But it's not. It's a mixture that's slightly different that allows her to be a little stronger and a little more connected to the command part of her voice. I'm sorry, we got to stop now. But I want to thank you all very much for your attention here. There's no reason for any of you to be intimidated in the ranges that you have to sing. There are ways for you to increase your range. You do have to allow your body to make the transitions necessary to allow you access to that middle range, and from the middle range on into the upper range. And if we got through the low range to the middle range today, it usually takes a while to live with that transition before moving to the transition that leads you to the top of your voice. Many singers work 5, 6, 7 years trying to perfect that transition to make it smooth so that it can't be distinguished. You folks don't need to worry about that so much. It's not essential that your voices be absolutely smooth, just so that you gain access to those ranges. So I would not be shy. I'd spend time doing those slurring exercises, sliding exercises, lip buzzing exercises, and then permit yourselves, allow yourselves to have those sensations migrate out of your chest, up into your face, and not be feeling like you're doing something wrong. Okay, that's all I got to say. I'll see you next session if you're back.